All right, boys and girls, so we're going to be talking about the Gulf oil spill. This was an oil spill that happened on April 20th, 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. So just 10 years ago, we had the worst oil spill in United States history. It happened because of an explosion on an oil rig out by the ocean, and the oil rig sunk to the ocean floor. So the explosion happened on the surface of the water, but then the oil rig sunk all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. And it stayed there, seeping oil spewing out. And they tried so hard to be able to stop it because this oil was seeping out across the bottom of the ocean floor. But they couldn't stop it for 87 days. Imagine at the very bottom of the ocean trying to stop something all the way down there. So it was very, very difficult. We know from our experiment from yesterday, our small little visualization from yesterday, that oil floats. So if the oil sunk all the way down to the bottom of the ocean floor, then it's going to rise back up slowly over time. And so it really was going to affect, and it really did affect, all the plants and all the animals all throughout the different layers and levels of the ocean. In all, 3.1 million barrels of oil were leaked throughout the ocean. Now, they tried a lot of different things to try to clean up this oil spill, and we're going to take a look at that today. So as you can see in this other camera, we have this kind of ocean model here. And so this is a pan from my kitchen, and I have some kind of blue water in here to represent the ocean water. I have some rocks and some plants in here. Imagine some fish swimming in here, some other, aquatic animal life throughout here. I didn't have those in my house, so I didn't put those in my pan today. And everything's beautiful. Everything looks great. But then we're going to bring our oil back, and we're going to dump some oil into our happy ocean here. Now remember that this oil spill, it was oil really seeping in from the bottom of the ocean. But as I dump my oil in here, you see again that we get that oil more at the surface. It rises from the bottom if you're thinking about the Gulf oil spill, and it comes up to the surface. Now, they didn't know how to solve this problem. First, how do we stop the oil from spewing out? And then secondly, how do we get the oil back out of the ocean? So they tried a couple things. They tried using a skimmer. Let me grab my piece of yarn here. So they tried using a skimmer. They tried using something kind of being pulled behind a boat to skim the ocean off the surface. So if we take this and kind of put it like this, and try to, if I can move my plant out of the way, and try to skim it away, we can see that we can kind of move the oil, we can kind of move it, but still, how do we get it out then? So their idea was to kind of skim it and move it all to kind of one section. You can see I've moved it out of the section that's viewed on the camera, although some of it's moving back in, but I still didn't really take it out of the water. I'm going to move it back so you can see it. So it's still there. So skimming the water, or skimming the surface of the water to move the oil maybe away from plant life and away from some big populations of animal life was somewhat helpful, but it still didn't get the oil out of the water. How are we going to get the oil out of the water? So they tried some other really odd things. They tried using some sorbent materials to soak up the oil and to lift it up out of the ocean. They tried things like sawdust. Okay, they dumped sawdust into the ocean to soak up the oil, but then they had to get the sawdust back out of the ocean. They tried hay in the same way, the hay to soak up the oil, but then again they had to get the hay out of the ocean. And then, get this one, you're going to like this, they tried human hair. Yes, hair. They tried hair in hair nets as an absorbent material to soak up the oil to get the oil out of the ocean also. So maybe think about, I'm going to grab my cotton ball here. Think about my cotton ball as like something that can soak up oil. So we can kind of take that cotton ball and kind of soak it up. And you can see like the slow going process, right? I have, if you can, I don't know if you can see that, but I have some oil on my cotton ball. But again, it's very slow. And as it soaks up oil, it also soaks up some of the water. So it kind of as difficult. Another thing that some people thought maybe of trying was maybe, kind of scooping out some of it. So using some kind of like devices to scoop out some of the oil, kind of like a large spoon kind of idea. Again, the problem with that is then you're also picking up the water. You're getting the water with the oil. So it became very difficult. It became very, very difficult to clean up this oily mess and to help to save those animals and plants. Imagine what those oils would do to the plants and animals. Imagine the fish. Imagine the birds that come and kind of land on top of the water. Imagine those birds coming in contact with the oil. What would it do to their feathers? It's going to make their feathers all slick and oily. They're not going to be able to fly well then. So this was a big, big problem that they had. So there wasn't a great way. We're going to investigate another website to see several other different things that they tried, and it became a very difficult problem to have. But this was a very fast ecosystem change that caused a lot of problems back in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico.